And we are back with the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this final segment, we're going to be doing a recap, a little bit of a quick recap because we are a little bit low on time, of all of the NBA games that went down yesterday and the results of the games and how it went and whether or not I ended up predicting right. I believe I only got one game wrong in these predictions, and that one game that I got wrong was the Spurs beating the Kings. I thought the Kings were going to end up winning in this matchup with how well Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, and DeMar DeRozan have been playing, especially how well they played against the Phoenix Suns. But alas, Victor Wembanyama was just a completely different animal in this matchup. He ended the game with 34 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists, along with 3 blocks in this game, going 6 for 12 from the three-point line. I mean, he was by far the best player on the court, by far the best player on the Spurs, and really everyone else sort of did their job, really. I mean, there were multiple players that ended with double-digit scoring. Stephon Castle, he ended the game with 10 points. Well, he did go 4 for 11. 10 points is pretty solid. Harrison Barnes, 10 points. And I say pretty solid, for rookie standards, because again, I'm not really going to expect Stephon Castle to have these ridiculous caliber performances, despite the fact that he was picked rather high in the draft. And Chris Paul, 12 points, 5 for 8. Julian Champagny, forgive me if I mess up that last name. I never figured out how to pronounce that name. 13 points, 5 for 12. But again, all of this entire game was just the Victor Wembanyama show. And it really helps knowing that the tallest player on the roster was Domantas Sabonis, who was, I think he's like 6'10", maybe 6'11". I'm gonna have to go ahead and check just to be sure. Yeah, 6'11", and I mean compared to Victor, who's 7'4", that's just child's play, really. It's not like Sabonis played bad, though. He ended the game with 23 points and 12 rebounds. Another double-double, what else is surprising? 11 for 19 from the field as well. De'Aaron Fox ended with 24 points, along with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. 9 for 19 from the field. DeMar DeRozan ended with 21 points, 8 for 15 from the field. And nobody else on the Kings played really well. The Kings as a team shot 10 for 38 from the three-point line, which again is not ideal for a team that's trying to win, and not ideal for it's just not ideal. Like, you're not going to win against a team that's shooting 22 for 46 from the three-point line, and you're shooting 10 for 38. That's just not going to happen. So that was the only game that I ended up getting wrong in the predictions. The Nets, they ended up beating the Pelicans as I expected them to. The Pelicans, they do not have Zion Williamson. He's out indefinitely. Brandon Ingram played pretty solid, 24 points. Let's see, who else played well? Yves Missy for the Pelicans played pretty well as well, 17 points, 11 rebounds. But really, the Brooklyn Nets as a team just played much better. Every single starter had 12 points or more in this matchup. Cam Johnson, he ended the game with 15 points. Cam Thomas, he ended the game with 17 points, was the leading scorer, 6 for 10, 4 for 5 from 3. Noah Clowney went 5 for 13, but he ended the game with 15 points, 5 for 10 from the three-point line. And everybody else played pretty efficiently except for Jalen Wilson, who shot 3 for 10. He did end with 10 points. And Zaire Williams ended the game with 12 points as well, 3 for 12. But again, this game was just, I expected the Nets to win this. This game was really close, though. Again, 107 to 105. The Thunder, despite not having Chet Holmgren, they've still shown that they are a competent team. They just beat the Clippers. SGA dropped 45 points in this matchup, along with 9 assists. Also recorded 5 steals. He was also, believe it or not, the tallest player in the lineup for the Thunder. Without having Chet Holmgren, the Thunder decided to go small. They went into a small ball lineup to start up the game, and it went well. I mean, Jalen Williams ended with 28 points. Lou Dort ended with 19. And really, those three were the more efficient and the best players on the team for the Thunder. And on the Clippers side, Norman Powell continues to have a most improved player season, honestly. His campaign continues with 31 points. Zubac ended the game with 22 points and 14 rebounds. Harden almost had a triple-double, 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. However, he did have 5 personal fouls. And Derrick Jones Jr. ended with 20 points in this game as well. But again, it just wasn't enough for the incredible performance from SGA and the rest of these players. The Cavs, they continue their flawless season. They are now 12-0 for the first time in the franchise's history. They beat the Bulls 119-113. The Bulls had Zach LaVine in this matchup. He played pretty well, 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Kobe White ended with 20 points, 4 steals, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds. Nikola Vucevic ended with 20 points and 8 rebounds. And Patrick Williams ended with a double-double, 13 points and 10 rebounds. But again, wasn't enough for Donovan Mitchell. He ended the game with 36 points, 8 rebounds. Evan Mobley ended the game with 15 points and 11 rebounds. Darius Garland ended with 17 points. Jarrett Allen did not really play all that well in this game, but they had very solid production coming off the bench. Karis LeVert had 12 points, and Ty Jerome had 12 points as well. Again, this team is just incredible. They are the real deal. They are, in fact, the best team in the Eastern Conference. As of right now. Next, Houston, they ended up beating the Washington Wizards as I expected them to. Sengun ended with 27 points and 17 rebounds and was by far the best player on the court for the Houston Rockets, arguably the best player on the court, period. They had pretty solid production coming in from the bench. Jalen Green also played pretty well with 18 points, and he did go 6 for 15, which was, not all that impressive. But again, this matchup, it was against the Wizards. I mean, like the Wizards, they are not a competent team. And Sengun, and along with the Houston Rockets, well, I'm not saying they are the best team, especially in the Western Conference. They're still a very solid team. Right now, they're 5th actually in the Western Conference, which is pretty impressive to say the least. Theo 3&D in the chat, good NBA topics. Thank you. I was trying to focus a little bit more on football because I love football, but I also like NBA and I also like the in-season tournament that's going to be happening later on tonight. And speaking of the in-season tournament, since I already did recap most of these games, let's talk about the games that are going down tonight. So the Knicks, they're going to be playing the 76ers. This is very significant because this marks the return of Joel Embiid. He's going to be playing the Knicks at home at 7:30 on TNT for any of you guys who are interested, assuming that Joel Embiid does not randomly just go out with a random illness or something like that. He should play in this game against the Knicks. This is going to be the first game of the group play that's going to be televised. And then the Mavericks are going up against the Warriors at 10, also on TNT, another game that's going to be set to play with group play. It's going to be a really tough matchup. For the game before that, I'm going to pick the Knicks to beat the 76ers. And then I'm also going to pick the Warriors to beat the Dallas Mavericks, as much as I cannot stand the Warriors. In fact, I hope they lose. I expect them to win in this matchup. Next, another NBA group play game. In fact, all of these games are going to be group play games. So the Hornets, they're going to match up against the Magic. I'm going to pick the Hornets in this matchup. I think they're a much better pick than the Orlando Magic, assuming that Paolo Banchero doesn't just randomly pop out of thin air and is able to play in this game. The Heat, they go up against the Pistons. I'm picking the Heat in this matchup easily. Celtics against the Hawks. I'm picking the Celtics in this matchup. Bucks against the Raptors. For some reason, the Bucks are favorites. Not in my opinion. The Raptors are going to be the favorites in this matchup. And really, I just do not trust Milwaukee at all. So that's why I'm picking the Raptors to win in this game. The Suns, they're going to play against the Jazz. I'm going to pick the Suns in this matchup. And the Timberwolves play the Trailblazers. I'm picking the Timberwolves in this matchup. So those are my predictions, and that's the end of the recap for the NBA. That's all that I have to really say about this final segment, and that's it for the show. So thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. As usual, we love to hear what you guys have to say during the show, whether you guys have a hot take, whether you guys have a burning question, something you've been dying to share. We're all ears. If you really want your comment and or question to get noticed, then I recommend using Super Chat. You just click on the $ below the chat box and you can send in your comments and or donations that way. Or you can use the link displayed below the ticker on every show segment, GSMC Sports, GSMC Podcast .net, and you can send in your comments and or donations that way. I sort of fumbled there. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. Jeez, I don't know what on earth that was, but that's the link that you guys can use if you don't want to use Super Chat. Just use Super Chat so I don't fumble the sentence like that again. So that's all that I have to say for this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna